I'll share this PowerPoint, by the way.
You should be able to join now if you'd like.
Mistakes to be on the internet, so we won't be here.
Oh, join what? Join ID. What meeting?
It was on the commissioner's website right there.
Yeah. That's just the advertisement. Well,
Cloudy and clear it up. Is it?
oh,
Yeah, no, I'm on.
so, Michael.
Get two more rows. Four.
I think we're good.
So,
There you go.
all right, everybody.
All right, everybody keeps their mic shut off. So real quickly, I think a lot of you folks know who I am. For somebody that may not know, I'm still the primary point of contact for broadband in Northern Michigan for the state of Michigan. And I will share this PDF later on. I don't think I have to go through the entire PowerPoint so we can get into the discussion part of this. But we're still at Connect Michigan. We're still setting up the office of My High. I think we're going to have a director here announced pretty soon. That way we'll be able to coordinate all this funding for the state and all the different broadband plans I want to talk about. Let's see here. There we go. Still have the office of My High, the fiber networks. We've talked about that. All the different fiber networks being built out in Northern Michigan. And I'm going to see about 100 to 120,000 homes and locations per year now for the next 4 years, at least, including that of PEG and some of the other organizations, especially the electric co-ops. Charter's also got quite aggressive too in building out fiber networks. They've quit building using coax cable and they're now doing fiber. So, and they're putting in a significant amount. Now, this is the, let me get this out of the way over here somehow. Yeah, put it up top. So this is the, there you go. Put that out of the way. So this is the current fiber optics network in for Alcona County. As you can see, I believe this is all bad here in Elmer Makito, but this is as of 2019, it was only reporting 100 megs down and 10 megs up. That's what the data that was turned in. And in terms of gigabit level service, it's still at 0. That's of September 30th of 2021. You know, I talked to Ron about increasing that to gig level service, but I'm afraid this whole northern half area right here is going to be built out by Presque Electric. And of course, you've been in discussion about working with them on an MOU to build out to the southern part of the state. We are currently mapping that, gathering that data up, and we'll see if it changed. But we're also putting teams in the field. There we go. We're putting teams in the field as of the update here. We should be hiring our hi-fi office. We're also soon be working on updating the state's broadband strategic plan, and also it's going to be the state's digital equity plan. So that's going to be coming up. That's going to be required. And is asking us to increase significantly our in-state staff, because what's going on here pretty quick. With everything coming in our way, we're gonna need more staff at the state level. The Office of My High currently is gonna hire about 8 staff members. But we are the 33rd state. 32 states have already have an office to be able to coordinate this. Legislators decided they don't want to have to deal with all this funding and be able to coordinate it. So we'll be putting that office together, but the other states have decided, looking at what's coming at them, they're actually doubling their staffs right now. So once we get it established, we're going to go to 8. We'll probably see us go to 16 right away. We did launch the broadband infrastructure audit validation project. This is going to be required. It's going to be very similar to what we did here in Alcona County. Matter of fact, Alcona County is used as the example you'll see on our slide. And so that data, so those teams, Chip and them should be back down here late summer. Confirming, driving around, just kind of confirming what they've done real quickly. So I know they'll be back in here. And we just finished up the Connect Michigan grant program. The legislators and the governor's office decided to work together, and they released $4.8 billion in our state's ARPA money. Of that, 250 million is going to be used for broadband. Of that 250, 150 million is going to be used for last mile. 88 million is going to be used for middle mile projects. But when they do middle mile this time, when you run middle mile between towns and cities, you can't just say we don't have we don't have fiber. You're actually going to have to tell what locations, what businesses and residents are going to be supplied internet by that middle mile. And so you're going to have to justify it, and then it's going to be confirmed at a later point. So it's not going to be like some of these other middle mile fiber projects, and everybody says, we just got fiber, but we don't know what's going on. We're not using it. We're going to actually have to dedicate or pay the money back. And then a little 5% of that's going to be used to do the My High office. This funding, and I will talk about this. This is the first level of funding coming your way for the state of Michigan. There's going to be 3 big pots I'm going to talk about. This is the first big pot of funding coming. And the reason for this meeting is I want to let you know, because I know you're working out arrangements with providers and everything else. So I want to, stress a little urgency here, and also a little motivation that the first pot's going to become available for applications, grant applications this December. And that money, we want that money on the ground after the snow melts, being utilized by June 1st. So typically, we're going to run it through the state grant programs with the Office of My High. They want to handle all these grant programs coming up. The first bunch is going to be only be able to be used by the providers and the electric co-ops. We'll be able to use by local communities and things like that, at least the first pot, because the legislators in Lansing decided that's just what, they made that decision. So, and they have, since it's the state money, the capital projects fund money, they have power to make that decision with that bunch of money. So those grants are be coming up, providers, and so I know talking like PIAG and all that, they plan on going after that. It will require community engagement. It's going to be a requirement that the providers are actually working with the community. You're going to have to, we're still working out some of the final details. What we're trying to do is we have another 2 more pots coming our way. So we're trying to see exactly what's going on there and use the same rules. So you don't have to duplicate or anything like that. You're going to follow the same set of rules through the entire process over the next 4 years with all these different pieces of money coming your way. And so it'll have to be public-private partnership. You're going to have to show some kind of documentation, such as NDAs, MOUs, things like that. Engagement meetings. I think that, don't hold me to this, I think you're going to have to be able to document at least 3 community engagements. I believe that's going to be the case. In your case, you've already got that done. It's recorded minutes of the meeting, things like that. So this is going to be used when you're applying for a grant. these are the points, these are the critical points, and big chunks of the point system is going to be applied to this. This is the first one. These projects are going to have to be completed. This chunk of money is going to be completed by 2026. So that's the first pot. And right now we're turning it in. We have to get approval from the U.S. Treasury, since it is the state's ARPA money. Just like anything else, we're getting approval right now. But it won't be run through Scenic. They'll run it through something else. I'm hearing it might be called Robin. So every administration, everybody comes through, it's Connect America Fund, Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Robin, it just all, there's just another name we'll have to get used to for a while. And so that's it. We are currently, key to this is going to be the validation of, we're going to have to validate those communities, those individuals that have access and those that do not. We're going to have to record the exact locations of the homes that have access to 100 by 20 and those that do not. And so the state has launched through MEDC, has launched a program similar to what we did here in Alcona County. Matter of fact, Chip's in charge of it. They won the bid, $5.2 million. And contrary to what people are saying out there, because I know a lot of people want to do the mapping, the foremen and team leaders of this actually built the networks. They were hands-on when they were younger, so they know. They actually built these cable networks, so they weren't sitting at a desk. And when they were at their younger age, they actually had their hands in the field. They're training these teams. Right now, there's 12 teams. They're trying to increase it to 16, trying to find a GIS person willing to work 60 hours a week. Right now, it's kind of hard, but there's 12 teams driving 65,000 miles. So based on the data we received, these areas in green, these are the areas reported by the various providers that actually are serving 100 by 20. So instead of driving every single mile, what you're going to see them doing is you're going to see them driving the periphery of every one of these. As we recall, when you do the mapping, they're able, if they serve one home in a census block, they get to count the entire census block. So they're going to be driving the actual periphery of all the networks. And it's probably the quickest and cheapest way to do this and say exactly, they start here, but they end here. And there's a good example, Alcona County was a good example I'll show you. And so they'll identify where the edges are. And so those homes that are beyond the edge, of course, they will be unserved. And those within the edge will be served. There will be a challenge to be able to challenge that. The FCC is also doing the same thing, but they're not going to be quite as thorough. And the more locations we identify as unserved, the more money the state will receive for broadband under the B program. So it's in our benefit to identify as many of those homes as possible, because it will increase the amount of money coming down our way. And not many states are going to be doing this. They're going to rely on the FCC maps, and they'll probably be more accurate than what they've been in the past, and not nearly as accurate as what we're going to be. So, so this is Alcona County. You recognize this. This is Lincoln right here. This is one of a cable company, Charter Communication. They said they covered all these areas in green. So in the past, when we had funding programs coming out, every home and business and location within that did not qualify for any funding. So when Chip and the team went on the ground at 100 by 10. And so when Chip and the team went on the ground, this is outside of Lincoln. You might recognize some of these roads. This is where they found the network, Charter Network. That's all it was really covered. In all these other areas in green, all the other homes, farms, and locations, they did not have service. Therefore, but they did not qualify. So the new maps will look like something like this. So it will look like something like this. So all the homes and locations outside of this little periphery right here will qualify for funding. So that's what I mean. We're going to go to the outside edges of these networks. And there's some significant homes and farms up in this area here, because it comes out here and jumps up. So there's some significant homes and farms that are left out of this. So this is like this all over the state. And so that's why they're gonna be driving 65,000 miles. So this is how we're gonna determine who has access and who does not have access. Yes, sir.
For a resident home that sits, let's say, 600 or better feet off the main thoroughfare, will there be enough push to get? I tried getting charter once before, and they said they didn't have enough power to push it back. To
Right,
600.
right.
So even though I was on 72, I could not get their particular broadband. Will that not happen with?
Well, that's gonna be like, that might not happen, but I will say for charter, I talked the other day, they can now push out 1,400 feet. As of the other day, they've changed their electronics, but then again, those will not, so you might end up paying for a booster, so. So yeah, that's whatever the periphery of the network. Again, it's not gonna be 100%, but we're not gonna be, the current maps I'm figuring are only 80% accurate. So we're gonna try to get it down within 97. Ideally, if you want to do everything, it would have cost probably 15 to 20 million. And would taken us well over a year. So we need this done by October. So they just started. They're down by they're down in along the southern part of the state. All the teams are together. They're working along the border. I was up in UP here about a month ago, and they said they got kicked off. Said, what's it like up here? And I said, got snow. We said, okay, we'll start at the southern border. We had 2 foot over in Chippewa County at the time, and then we're going to Marquette. It's supposed to be dry over there, but I'm here by the time I leave, I'm gonna have 8 inches. So I'll be driving out a storm. So they started down there, and then they're gonna be moving up to the UP, starting at Lake Superior. Get up there fairly soon, once they're all trained, and they start those southern states, those southern counties. They want to finish them first, and then they'll go up. Once they start, they want to finish them, get them out of the way. Then they'll go north, and they'll start working their way south. So I imagine they'll be in Alcona County probably midsummer, I would imagine, by the time they get done. So I did notice that Chip and his Donovan, Chip chose his county to go through. So he's in here coming back. So I'm coming back to Alcona County. So and the reason we're doing this is we have to gather the data. We have to be able to challenge the FCC map so that we get as much funding as possible. And then the other thing too is we have to be able to track this, because there's gonna be a lot of money.
Is there a reason why we can't use?
Oh, no, we're gonna use as much. Yes, we are. Yes, but there has been some changes since there's been some change. There might have been a few changes, and so we're gonna find out about the changes that are out there. And some of the providers might come out and say, well, maybe some of them that didn't. There are providers right now that said they have service, but they didn't bother want to turn in the mapping data, but now they see they can be overbuilt. They are. So we're just going to come back and confirm, but most of that data is going to be, yes, turned in. I believe it's already been approved. So for Alcona County. And this is how we're going to keep track of it per location. And there will be dots on a map, green dots and red dots. And this way the counties, the local entities, officials, township officials will be able to take a look at it and challenge it and be able to turn that data into the state and say, hey, this area never did get covered. Or if it's already deemed for funding, like the grant programs, we'll take those off. We'll take those off the map, because like I said, there's going to be 3 rounds. And then the feds have got another cleanup round after this. So but once this is done, I don't really see much. And right now it's going to be, it has to be 100 by 20 minimum, but scalable to 100 by 100. And that means fiber. And so there will be a few instances where fixed wireless will work, but those will be very few places. And some of those places that I know of down in Northeast Michigan, Presque Electric's going to build their fiber on their pole. So there'll be maybe a couple spots up in UP that'll be covered by it. But other than that, it's going to be fiber. So the nice thing about fiber is we're tired of funding. When I first started working with you, Marlene, we had 3 megs down and 1 meg up. We were happy. That was the gold standard. And now it's 100 by 20, and So I said, we're just gonna go, the provider, so let's just go with a gig or 100 by 100 fiber. And then all we gotta do is change out every 6 years, we'll change out our lasers. And providers are already changing 1 gig lasers out to 5 and 10 gig already. So on the maps, because it's coming, because that stuff lasts for 5 or 6 years. And so it gets burned out and we got to replace it. So they're thinking, okay, where are we going to be at 5 or 6 years from now? We're going to need 5 gig or 10 gig. So that's a big decision they're making right now, and it causes a lot of headaches. So that's the federal update. I will say you had Ardoff, Mr. Elon's company hasn't quite been approved yet, Elon, and also CenturyLink or whatever they are now. They've not been approved for their RDOF in this county, though Mercury Broadband recently has. I've talked to them and said, what are you gonna do now? You're kind of late to the ball game. Matthew, he was up here. We had him up here for a while. So we'll see what they have to say. But I think in the case of with Mr. with PIAG, I think they're going to be into the game. So, and so anyway, reconnect. There's still some federal money. RDOF phase 2. They're going to wait till a lot of this funding is done before they announce phase 2, and it's going to be for the high cost areas. Maybe a little bit of cleanup. So we don't know when that's going to happen. And that's going to have $5 billion plus, probably, I think it's up to 14 billion now in it, but we'll see what happens. Because right now we have the BEAD money. We talked about this, the Infrastructure Act. The big thing is going to be the BEAD money, which is, this is for the nation, $42 billion, but the digital equity is another big one. And that's something the state's working on right now. That's to help the low cost, but also some of the training. For example, well, we've got a lot of parents, a lot of families that qualify for the low income, but it's pretty hard to educate those folks. So it's going to require some staff. Like I know they've talked to schools, but you don't have anybody to go out because it takes 2 or 3 hours to get people signed up. We see things like United Way, Networks Northwest, some of the more organizations, even the hospitals have staff now assigning people up for telemedicine. They, making this low cost broadband programs available and train it. We're going to put all this technology out. Now we need to train people how to use it. Put money into the libraries, things like that. So when you come in, how do I use this? Things like that. So more money for that. So and the providers actually, they wish there was more money in there because they want to see, because that helps drive their adoption rate. It just makes straight business sense for them. So the state of Michigan, 42 billion. Every state will get on this one here, the NOPA, that's already come out. I should take that question mark out. Every state will get $100 million automatically. If you don't do anything, you're going to get $100 million, which really won't do a lot. So that's why we have the Office of My High putting together a broadband plan. We're going to have to apply for grant funding at the end of the year. And so we figured right now, if right now the number is between this changes, by the way, on a weekly basis, this information, it doesn't get any worse, it just gets better. The information, there's more details that comes out. So if we do things right and we map everything, we're going to qualify for roughly $1.7 billion and maybe up to $2 billion in grant programs on top of the 250. So under that one, you're going to see the areas that are underserved by 25 by 3 and 100 by 20. They're going to get preference. They get bonus points. That can be used in areas 100 by 10, but I will tell you this. We figured to get fiber, 100 by 100 fiber to every rural home in Michigan, and not counting the Traverse City areas, Washtenaw County, places like that where they have it. It's going to cost about $7 billion. I think the schools estimated at 6 2 years ago. We had it at 5 under Snyder. The schools came back in 2020, figured at 6. They didn't believe us, so They came back and did their own, and it came out 6, and now with costs, it's probably up to 7. So we're gonna get about $2.2 billion, and we need 7. So I'm not worried about any money going, anybody qualifying that already has high service, so being overbuilt. I will say a lot of providers in the high density area with fiber, you are seeing them overbuild the cable networks that are 20 years or older because they dominate. They usually get 35% of the business the first year and up to 70% after year 3. So people switch. So with the private investment can see an advantage there. So it's kind of, the free market's kind of taking care of that. Capital is kind of taking care of those town areas, city areas. So with that, the big thing here is when we come to the mapping, we're also going to have to look at, and I guess I'm going to get put on my plate to help identify the community anchor institutions that don't have access to fiber. And that would be schools, libraries, township halls, medical centers, your airports. I was in Alcona County. They had a bid to get their airport and their county road commission done. They saw this program. Originally, they got a bid for about 20,000, and the provider came back and said, I want 45, and they said, I think we'll wait. We'll wait. And so they're going to wait to hook up their airport using this funding. They said, might as well wait. And so we're going to be identifying those areas too in the map. That's something new. That's one of the reasons CHIP will be coming into this area, is to identify those community anchor institutions. So they would qualify for the funding.
Actually, I believe the map right now identifies
Yeah.
the one we have now.
Okay. Well, that's good. I think, but I mean, that's typically that's what we're going to be doing in the state too, because they'll be eligible for funding coming up. Under the both grant programs, you're going to look at roughly 25% match. The fiber is going to be a 30% match, but it's going to be very competitive. So if you don't have 40 or 50%, you're probably might as well stay home. So under the federal BEAD program, one thing is anybody can apply for this, unless it's an individual. Counties, cities, schools, anybody can apply for this money. Be able to apply for it. But you're going to have to prove you know what you're doing, engineering drawings, things like that. So you're going to have a partnership with somebody, and it's going to be so. The $1.7 billion we're looking at this, and that, or even at $2 billion, we're thinking we're going to break this up to state level. In 2 different years, you can't do $1 billion a year in the state of Michigan. That's just crazy. Yeah, you recall when they put money out for cleaning up the gas tanks. Was it Bush that did that under the Bush administration? They put like $4 billion, $5 billion out. It was going to clean up all the gas tanks, all the leaking gas tanks and everything else. And Congress wrote a big check, and they did it 1 year, and they tripled the price. So they ended up doing 30%. So you put the money out to do it, but if you do it at once, you increase labor and prices, and you're not doing a lot less. So this program here has got to be completed by 2030. We're telling the Fed you can't want to even hold off to stretch that dollar. I know people want it right now, but if you're driving the cost up. So that's kind of the biggest thing. It's going to be have to be 100 by 100, and that's the biggest thing. There will be some money for middle mile. Also, digital equity, we're kind of putting that together right now, what the state needs. We're going to apply for that, and we'll have something hopefully by the end of July. But how we want to use it and how we want to support our local anchor institutions. I'm stressing, like the schools and libraries and stuff right now, they're also putting in to help people sign up for that. We still have the affordable connectivity program for low income. It's a $30 a month subsidy. It's eligible. Any provider going after that funding will have to have a program like that. So, and if you were a county or something, you're going to have to put together a program like that too. So, required for the funding. So that's kind of what I have. They are going to increase the labeling. Broadband, they're going to have to be more transparent about their fees. And so you know what you're buying, and you know exactly what the speeds are. So when you pay, you're gonna have to know, kind of like food now, you have to know what you're getting. It's kind of a novel idea, huh? So we gotta pass a law for that. Real quickly, just to give you an example of what's going on. Yesterday, one of my counties, Alcona County, worked with Point Broadband and the rural Cherryland Electric Co-op, Wolverine Power. And they're gonna build out, county's gonna use 5 million of their money. And for an $18 million project, that's actually more than that. Cherryland Electric Co-op's gonna let Point on, they negotiated their company out of the center of the state. They're gonna build out to about 10,000 locations. And the county commissioners just voted Tuesday, 7-0. So, and they're gonna build out the eastern side, even the county commissioners over here is another electric funding. So it's starting to happen. You know, people are done dancing and they're actually, you know, it's actually starting to happen. So, and so these are some of the things that I'm doing right here and some of the resources. You know, always talking about how Alcona County didn't happen. This is one of the examples. And then I think the MOU that you've actually working out with PIEG. My recommendation is that you start moving forward and tightening down that relationship. And, you know, get your consultant up in place and start documenting all this so that when I talked to Tom recently, and I think he was starting to figure out the southern half's going to be like $30 million. You're going to go after some of this funding. I know they are.
Yeah.
That I know they're building out right now. Tom's actually going to go to the NIMCOG board for me next week. They're actually building out in
I don't want to go to that.
huh?
Dan, Duffy and I are gonna go. to the-
Okay. Up the NIMCOG meeting. So yeah, they're going to be up there talking about the build out. So it's happening. They're actually they had a little hiccup with the billing and the businesses, I guess, or something like
Well,
that.
the bit, you know, they were doing a beta test.
They're doing a beta test and they're debugging it. So
They found some bumps in the billing process and that type of thing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of good that they're doing that now.
mhm.
And he seemed to think that they've gotten all that worked out.
So
I think they're ready to roll on their membership side.
Yeah.
But they're walking and chewing gum at the same time. They're looking forward and they're looking right square at us right now.
yeah, so they're building out. So that's my little speech. Questions? Mayor?
Where's the match gonna come from? Where-
Well, typically, so my point being with the match is that, you know, there's a lot of people that build the networks if you give them all the money. And so you need to work with, you know, I think it's wise when you do look at somebody or look at a group you're working with, that they actually have funding and to help with the match. I think the reason they want the public-private partnership is, especially for like the counties and communities, I want to make sure you've got a little bit into it and that you're going to cooperate. If there's hiccups with the road commission, you're going to lean on you're going to make sure your road commission plays ball. Some of the local leaders are going to play ball and some local organizations. So I think that's, but most of it, like the Leelanau, you know, they picked Point because Point was going to build, they figured $2,800 per home. They're going to be on the poles. This one here, Fresco, Cherryland Electric was going to eat all the make ready, their board of directors. They were going to charge them like a $1 hookup fee. And I think they negotiated and now they want fiber. So I think they're going to do a bartering system. So they want fiber for their electrical infrastructure. So, but anyway, so those are companies that are, I mean, they're out there putting their own dollar up, and so you're gonna make sure you work with those kind of companies. That's my advice. I don't know. And I think a lot of counties are finding that they're providers that all you gotta do is start to cooperate. They will write. I am seeing some of the providers, like Point and all them, they will supply the grant writer. They don't want to put the burden on the county. They'll have the grant writer. They will design it up for free. They will request the counties to give them their 911 data free. So that's to your advantage, because that way they have the latest and greatest data of all the homes. They don't miss a home.
And
So,
go ahead.
yeah, so those are the things that, and then if you have institutions like the schools or something like that, they're looking for redundancy fiber backups. You got businesses and things like that you go ahead and, if you got an airport you want to hook up, you want to get that into the mix. Schools,
Fiber,
I mean, I still got schools out there hooked up to coax, hooked up to DSL.
We're lucky enough to be on fiber, but we finally got our grant to replace that fiber line for the elementary this summer, but.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Wi-Fi routers and the buses that are gonna be installed this summer too,
Mhm.
so. About as much as we can do at this point.
And so that's, and like I said, there's a lot of, hey, one of my schools up in, Harbor Springs, of all places. They had about 40% of the kids are on the federal lunch program, and I think I talked about that
Yeah.
before. Yeah, where they're worried about the hotspots. I said, my gosh, you got fiber in front of every one of those homes. Instead of spending money on a hotspot, hook those kids up. And then they qualify for a discount. But it takes staff, it takes people, coordination, and that's the problem we have right now, because everybody's just don't have the hours, so that's why they want to put out money in the digital equity program, those communities.
and
Else?
go ahead.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay, I just wanted to give a quick update because we have, sort of covered some of these bases already with PIE&G. The last time we met, we strengthened the LOI. They were looking for some semblance of skin in the game, and folks agreed to put a number in there that satisfied them and showed the right intent. And so we've got that in place. We have now, and we're in the process of sharing the data, the 911 data, the property tax data. And John had a list of things that they were going to share. And that gives Presque Isle a chance to determine customer delta in the county. So we're continuing to, through the LOI MOU process, starting to find out the things that they need. They're starting to find out the things we need. We're not to the MOU stage yet, but the last LOI that went out was a stronger one. I know that they're going to push back a little bit on a couple of things, but that's how to get these things done. So there'll be some redlining that's going to happen, but I think probably within the next month or so, we'll probably have one nailed down. So we're trying to keep ourselves.
you are ahead of the ball game in terms of a lot of other counties. So I'm telling other counties, again, I'll just talk straight facts. We only got 2.2 billion coming, and we need 7. So I'm gonna have winners and losers, but you guys are well ahead of a lot of my other counties. A lot of counties aren't even thinking about it yet. So that's the.
And we have all the data in our pocket too.
Right, you got the data, so yeah, you're, yeah.
I know Chip and Don will come back through here. Maybe they'll have a shorter list of confirmation, because most of the work is done. But they're gonna come through here and they're gonna just be confirming at this point more than leaving.
Right.
So that map is pretty strong already. It does show anchor institutions. So, those kinds of things are already available to
Right.
us.
We have to have that map done by end of October, so that the providers have a final number of locations to plug into the grant applications.
And I have discussed with the commissioners that there is a consultant in our future. And that we're gonna have to, we'll probably be talking to Chip first. He kind of raised his hand, and he's so familiar with the county and with everybody here. And I believe that he's had a lot of experience acting as a consultant like that. So we'll have to determine what that fee is and that type of thing, and we'll work our way through that.
So we're 75% home, we just have to get it into an MOU and you can get our consultant. like
Yeah, we're down close to that right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a good estimate, 75%.
Yeah. Like I said, it's coming. It's coming quick.
that. Well, we
So
have to get it in place before December, so we're first in line.
yeah, you wanted that first. And my point being, you have 3 shots at it. But let's take the first shot. And And,
Put a man on base at least.
yeah,
So the next logical step would probably be to get the MOU in place with the provider. This is a talking meeting, not a figure out stuff meeting. So,
right,
And then once that's done, have a meeting with the provider and the townships and what role their money is gonna play and how they are gonna integrate into this situation. And of course, get a consultant lined up, so.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that we got most of our homework done.
and like I said, the funding is gonna start rolling out, the BEAD money. We're hoping, that next December, it's gonna depend on the FCC a little bit, that we're gonna see another grant program of anywhere from 700 to $1 billion. And then the following December, which would be 2024, I think, yeah, is that right? Yeah, 2024, there'll be another one.
Busy.
But what you're saying is though, once you get into an agreement with the provider, it's in their best interest to pursue these things.
Mhm.
They're gonna be a driving force to pursue all these funds, because obviously they want more customer base, so they want more expansion of hardware. So it's not on 100% on us to, the provider you find, it's be good to know that they are good at pursuing these avenues, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, they got their own, I think PIAG's got some deep pockets, so. And they, but if you're a co-op member, to speak for the co-ops, the membership I've been hearing, if you're a co-op member, you gotta borrow this money. The USDA, they'll give you money all day long at 2%, 1 in 7 eggs. But if you get grant money instead of borrowing it, then your
So there's multiple avenues.
your yearly checks will be bigger.
Yeah, but there's more co-ops, there's more benefit to a co-op situation because they have more avenues for funding.
Right. They're very solid. So yeah, I think I talked about that before where, yeah, it was, 1 in 7 eggs, 40-year fix. So that's what got them talking. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do I understand that you're gonna go to the townships and ask for money? Is that what you were saying, Adam?
I don't, well, no, the county's not gonna ask for money, but we would have a meeting to say that the townships are intending to use their funds for ARPA funds to, for broadband. They would be part of the conversation with the provider, be it, if it was, let's say it is Rescue, right? Electric and gas, you would be part of that conversation, say how, they would advise us how your funds would be integrated if you choose to do that. Wouldn't be a requirement to say you have to do this and,
Okay, so it's been what, a year since we talked about this the last time with the townships, and you were all fired up, and then everything went kind of quiet. And so the townships are saying, well, let's spend the money on something else. So I don't know if that money's gonna be there or not. You're talking about ARPA funds.
well, we just received the money this year and you have, what was it, 5 years to spend it, 4 years to spend it, so I mean. Yeah, you're right, some may decide to use it on other things, but I think Doug's been doing a pretty good job keeping us ahead of the game, as he said, we're ahead of most counties.
But yeah, we are, but as
So-
far as the townships, that I'm pretty sure that we're all thinking something else now. So we either
Well,
need
it'll
to get,
be, it's up to the township.
Yeah.
You know what? You can make that decision. It's not us that will make that decision, or us to say, give us, well, say, this is what we're doing.
Right.
We can use some funding. If you have some, and you want to give it up, give it up. If you don't, go spend it somewhere else. We can't tell you what.
Or you can think about being a good customer too.
Right.
That's, we're looking at, some places are looking at, well, maybe it's time to upgrade the Wi-Fi in the marina. Or something like that, or at the township hall. I mean, there's a lot of other ways that you can utilize the money too, so, since it is only a small amount.
I think the point being brought up is there's more information and there's more tangible information that can be given to the township.
Yes,
now for us to
you're right.
factor in
Yes.
what's doing
Right.
that. So at that
we
point,
need to come back.
sooner is better than later,
Yeah.
even if it's not all,
We
I say
understood.
finalized or anything, but just here's kind of the direction. Ben was speaking for our township, Monday, we're just having that same discussion, It's like, well, by ourselves, we can't do diddly squat with this, and we've got, and here's all this other long list of needs that we use it for, so,
I think the point being is we didn't want to come out until we had something to say.
yeah.
And it took this long to get us to a point where we had something to
Because
say.
to me, I think it sounds like it's all back to county, Presque Isle, here's our vision. Here's how we think we're gonna get there, and to the point of, let's get the line first. Just
Right.
makes it that much more, so.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a tentative timeline for sure. I mean, we want to have
Right.
something in place
Yeah,
before November.
I think
yeah,
this-
we've got timelines now, and we got funding, so we have funding and timelines.
And especially if, I know that if Presque Isle can come back, even if, it's like, well, okay, here's where we're starting in the county, here's where, if they've got that roadmap of how to get there, then we can match it up with some funds, I think you'll see a bunch of different. Can't speak for everybody else, from Millen Township's perspective, we have a much different view on it.
And I think, didn't all this money, whether it was county or township, come out at 50% the first year and 50% the second year?
I don't think
Township,
county
yeah.
is that way.
We just got a notice that a second round is coming,
Okay,
so.
yeah,
Right.
okay, that's what I thought.
So was this person in two, I just can't remember what the second one was coming, but I thought it was supposed to be like fourth quarter this year.
Yeah.
I think there was just, I didn't read it. I'm looking at it. I think it just said that there's another disbursement getting ready to happen.
So that's why I reached out to everyone. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about the post here, but.
Yeah, I know, we keep dodging.
To make, it's still moving. We're still moving forward with it and still something's gonna happen.
Yeah, I can say it's encouraging, it's definitely encouraging information.
And now is, as we're being told, this information today says, we have to do something soon. We can't wait till next year. We can't.
Right.
You could wait till next year, but you're gonna miss the first
I
round.
was gonna say, yeah, so it's like, why?
Yeah,
So it sounds like, this is just, I know you said this isn't this is talking meeting, not an exciting meeting, but logically to me, it seems like the next step is to finalize everything with Presque Isle,
Yeah,
right?
there we're at.
yeah, we're, the state, all the money's gonna have to go through the state. The legislature decided that we do need a My High office to coordinate all of it, to handle it. And if we wanna get the full,
I guess that's the confusing part to me. Because there's already money at the county and money at the township. It's not enough, but that's not all the money going to the state.
right. Well, no, I meant as far as this other funding coming up.
Ah,
All these other funding packages, that up to $2.2 billion is gonna be handled through the state.
Which is gonna be the meat of that's the money we're gonna need.
yeah.
Yeah,
What we're gonna throw in is gonna be, startup,
Small potatoes.
not even startup dollars,
right.
but having a provider that's gonna go and chase these funds down, that's what we have to get on board with.
Yeah. So
And I
that's,
think what we're trying to do too is to finally show that everyone's interested, if of all the townships, at least show some interest in it. And the interest unfortunately turns into dollars. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole ARPA thing that you got. It would just be to show that you were interested in it, you're gonna partner up with it, and because we're gonna put it all together into a pot, like we said, we're a very small amount when it gets to the total push. But anything we can put towards it, and to make it a group effort, the bigger the group we have, the better off we get a sounding board.
I think it makes the scoring better for getting the grant.
Yeah.
it does,
Right.
all the scoring, it just helps the scoring out. Because, like I said, we know now that once everybody has skin in the game, the cooperation level is much higher. And some of the issues are, they kind of go away. I mean, it's just-
So in terms of the inertia that you were talking about keeping everybody up to speed, this meeting was YouTube. And I would strongly suggest that, the townships that you guys are responsible for, and you pan that information out. It's hard to cover everybody all at once, but if we can try that and use the township supervisors and the commissioners to.
I'll send the link on that MTU.
Yeah,
What's that?
I'll send the link out on the same thing I did for this.
Yeah. We had to do the things we were doing, which were piecemeal.
Right.
Until this point.
Right.
So now we're starting to see the convergence. happening.
it's,
And Presque Isle needs us as much as we need them.
So
They need partners.
yeah, so my suggested feedback is if we could take this and create talking points of here's what's gonna happen next. I think that would help a
Because
ton.
nobody's gonna look at that YouTube, I can
Can
tell
I
you that
s-
right now, we get so many emails from everything going on. That we need you to take to your townships and say, this are the talking points,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, we
what.
can do that.
Here's what we think from a county, here's our vision. And then I think we can
These are the
marshal some
advancements.
support from that perspective, for
These
sure.
are the advancements that have been made, and this is where we're going from here, and it's gotta be dum, 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 just like that,
Right.
because townships have a lot of other things to
Yeah,
be thinking about.
and I apologize, I had a one-page cheat sheet I normally have with this, and I updated it, and it's laying right on my desk. Because the other one I had, like I said, this changes every week.
Yeah, well, that's the cheat sheet from the state perspective. We just need to turn it into cheat sheet from the
Right.
county's perspective on how we're gonna leverage that in Presque Isle and.
Yeah, just so you know what's coming now and what we're working on and what we're
Maybe
really
some sort
pushing
of a,
hard, so.
we can do some sort of a monthly update. Or
That-
get something out right away.
Yeah.
It's gotta be easy.
But
Yeah.
even if it turns into, hey, it's on the agenda for this meeting. Be there type of thing. That would help too. I mean, like I said. I'm glad I happened to open up the email and saw this, said, oh yeah. I'll
Yeah, it
be
requires
be there.
required that we all pay attention, right?
Correct.
All the reports in the world don't mean anything. if we
Right,
don't read them.
Right.
So we'll look at trying to, maybe some of the committee can work on. Get us something, get what to do there and throw something together, but get a framework in place. So we can do that. That's.
I have to go rescind my comments that I made Monday. I have no hope. We might as well go do this.
Oh, well.
3 days later, I have a ton of hope.
Well,
Because I heard the song over and over.
Oh, yeah, and we haven't seen, we've never seen money like this flowing and now it's started,
Well, you can have the money flowing, it's the engagement with Presque Isle. Ultimately, it's gonna take a provider to deliver.
Yeah, we.
That's the exciting part to me.
in the
We have to be
consultant
very
to,
careful at the
that'll
beginning.
be in your best interest to make sure that the MOUs and everything else, if you're gonna throw any money at it, you're gonna protect
Until we
yourself.
get to a certain
So-
point when, and talking to Tom about this, so big. Pretty soon, we're gonna have to make a public statement.
Yep.
And then that's gonna change a lot.
Yeah.
And, but there was a
I
residence,
was,
to do that right away until we sort of felt our way through, are we really gonna be partners? So
Get it.
that's
Yeah.
why it's been a little quiet.
yeah, I kind of like the way he's gonna make a broadband co-op. They have there's 3 different ways of doing electric co-op infrastructure. And that allows them to have just strictly a broadband co-op that lets them go beyond their boundaries, just like the gas, so.
Well, and there's a difference.
And like Great Lakes Energy, they gotta do all, it has to be all their money.
Yeah.
So,
There's
It's a different-
difference
it's a
between
different
profit and
beast.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
Co-ops too.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what Presque Isle's working through. They're a nonprofit. They return money to their members.
yeah,
So, I know that he's talked to the board about Alcona County specifically, and they're very open to, open up the membership. Right away, and the membership is $5, I think, or something
Right.
for the time being, so something substantive happen. So, and while we're working through this, he's gonna be giving me great information and things of that nature that. So we get when people start saying, well, how much is it, we're gonna ask how much it's gonna cost, how much money can we save? Those are really important pieces for the team.
It is, except I think the more important one's not how much I can save, is like, can I get it?
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
That's the first
Let me
starting
just give
point.
you one quick statistic. We put our number into the county system, our phone number for the committee. And to date, I took a look at it the other day, I think to date I've had 75 communications, either voicemail or email, asking about broadband and where is it going. With our message on machines that call us or email us.
Right.
Up to, I think it's 75 or 78, and we put that up in late November. I didn't have a very good Christmas vacation. A lot of people are, a lot of people from Hubbard Lake, around the lake. Just, I guess it's the north or west side, there was nothing over there. But I mean, from all over the county, every corner. So people are aware. I just got a call the other day from a woman who was just asking. Sometimes they don't know what to ask. They just mentioned broadband.
Right, they show up at the townships, got them in Millen.
Yeah.
Up and down 72.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's there, like I said, that's where some, we're making progress and this is what it looks like it's gonna go. When we can get to that communication stage, that's gonna be a jump starter.
Yeah.
If you want to help us put together the framework, you're in.
I'll help.
Okay.
At some point, you gotta figure out what it is.
I think it's important that, people that are in the township environment, actually try to put together that framework at some level. And, we can fill in the blanks and add the facts and those types of.
And just like with Mellon, when we showed up on some other items, we've got an active board, we just need to know when's that meeting to have the discussion. And I can get them marshaled up and come in here and go, here, if you will, when we know, here's kind of what the program looks like.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the meeting you would have with them, correct?
or I could get them to that meeting, wherever that, here's kind of what the program
okay.
is,
Well,
whether it's me or bring them or whatever, we.
We can't operationalize that today, but.
Exactly.
But the fact is, it's either we call them all together. If we can herd the cats to the middle. And then have a presentation put together so that everybody knows what we're doing. Or we have to hit them
Right.
one at a time.
We can figure that part out. I was talking about even whomever from the township learning what that vision is. When you
Okay.
guys get
Yeah, there's
that.
gotta be a Cassandra at the, at the township level and at the county level. Each one of these folks here represents 2 or 3 townships, right? 3, 4, I don't know, something like that. And you attend a lot of those meetings. So we have to arm you as well with some talking points or updates.
Talking points would be good on both
Yeah.
from the state level on what large monies are coming, and at the local level on what the status quo is, and what is not expected, but would be nice to see move forward on. So when you sit in front of the audience and you're being questioned, at least you have something to read off of that.
Even if it's nothing more than. I call it, it's like a roadmap, bullet point of roadmap.
Yeah.
Here's where we are, here's the next thing we're doing, here's the next thing we're doing. And here's the 4th thing we're doing. And oh, by the way, when we're here, that means. We've got shovels in the ground making this happen.
All right, Tom, share your
I will.
update with me, and then we'll have to
Okay.
convene a meeting where everybody can
And
show
and
up.
like I said, if you need me to come to a township meeting or something like that. County township meeting or something, I can do that. too. So,
Yeah, I think when I want to bring you in is when we can actually get a representative from each township in the room. And along with you folks again, I don't know if that's a special meeting or we figure out how to do that somewhere else. And give each of that representative more facts that they can take back to the constituents.
I think I'd like to wait until, like I said, we don't see a problem with this first $250 million right now. We just applied for it to Treasury Department. Say this is what we're gonna use our money for, and they're just gonna come back and say that's fantastic and go ahead. That's,
And I want to see how this NEMCOG meeting goes next week too.
Yeah.
Because
That's-
Dan Largent, who's heading up the broadband build up at Crestfield, is going to be attending for an update. You're going to be at that meeting too?
no, I can't. I said, I had another engagement.
Okay.
So I
Speaking of
said,
which, I'm
why don't
already
you,
10 minutes late for my next.
that says more important, they get somebody like Crestfield there because they're actually building up.
Okay, well, thank
Very
you.
good.
Tom.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Thanks. Right.
Thanks, Pat.
Well,
No, good stuff. Yeah, we
The,
gotta figure out what we need to get back to work.
Well, I gotta go.
you're with what township?
Millen,
No, okay.
Bill wants to talk about, Landberg.
the desolate one out of the county.
anyway.
Oh.
If the county library goes to this,
The biggest bang in the legal populace.
biggest thing that the county and Curtis have to look at is everything that is existing now will stop. All the employees will be frozen in their wages and so forth and their benefits.
Right.
The properties will go towards, will be.
Thank you.
potentially over to the district ownership. That's a big stepping stone back over in Curtis because they have a situation where the township owns the property and the library owns the building that it sits in. So they have to work that out on that they can either lease the property or whatever, but there was the lawyer has started a draft agreement and there's a lot of blank spots and part of it was the properties to make the Alcona would have to realize that there would do a quick claim deed of some sort that says we no longer own or have possession of the library. Library is going to the district. That may not be an issue because I think they bought it through their millage. There is not a law, but probably there's I don't know the right words, to allow the millages that are existing on the books now to continue until they run out to be used for the district library. And then once they run out, the district library board would have to rewrite and submit for a millage request to function. I think the property is the biggest thing on both sides. The overall structure for the district has benefits for the library, not so much for the employees. There's only 2 or 3 employees that are full-time and most of them are, and they're all here. And those people would be basically severed from the benefits. If one of them is 20 some years in, but they would not be able to, they'd be done. They'd be frozen until they meet the age requirement of MERS and so forth. They couldn't add any more.
It would be employees of Alcona County.
They would not be in county employees. Another one doesn't have the 10 years in, but is close. She's done. There are some slight negotiations with MERS. Oscoda County has switched over last year that had MERS and they took a year for them to negotiate a couple employees so that they could finish something out. But that was between the district library board and MERS. The only thing I can see that we would still be charging somebody to would be the millages that presently are on that we collect that run through this building might be a service charge we would have to charge back to the district library because we're still may still be handling that round circle of money coming in, processing and then giving it back over to.
But the treasurer's part.
Right, and that would be a charge, a service back to the district. If the district does not find enough funds, millage, grants, whatever, they can go defunct. And it would, at this point, everything would go back to the original owners. The township would pick up that building out there in the Curtis. We would end up back with the library here if we so choose. I mean, but it's basically a business, and if it goes to fails, it falls back onto.
So it's like a glorified lease.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if we have ownership to I know they bought the lots behind.
I'm not sure the history behind that either.
Right, but those are things to look into or to at least be concerned about.
Well, regardless of it was bought with the village money, it's still property of Alcona County. Probably.
I don't know.
I'd have to say, because they don't have an organization to put on there. They don't, the Alcona County Library doesn't have an organization that lists as the owner.
Probably not.
It's the Alcona County Library.
They got the lots for some by back taxes.
I'm not sure what by statute that the library cannot own property.
So it's similar to the veteran where they can't own property. They can
Right, it would be property of the
county.
It's different,
or the county.
but it's different. They are formed under different acts. They have different capabilities.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that is a fact, but I'm leaning in that direction from what I do know.
there's a lot of legal data collection.
Yeah.
that needs to be done.
And I think what I'm trying to do is get a feeling on if if this organization is not ready to release the system, then it doesn't pay us to go into the lawyer side of things and getting
Right.
the agreements together. I mean, it's rather lengthy and there is a cost to the district for this writing, and I have second emotions and different emotions on pros and cons. Like I said, for the actual working mechanisms, they'll have a larger base. They'll have, if they're going to go look for a director someday, they'll have more satellite stations to say, well, we have 5 or 6 or something like this, library plus a central one. Their circulation can be a little larger. It boosts them up a little bit better for grants and so forth, but they have to survive. And the survival is basically on their shoulders, not ours at that point.
Yeah, because if the village is on that for some reason,
They really have to go for grants then. And
not
stuff.
making enough on late fees,
So
which is one of my kids. It's probably nice, you know, when-
He thinks that the voters of Alcona in 2025 are going to support the district.
if it's written correctly, my feeling is yes. Again, there's only, from what I was told, there's only a handful of county libraries left in the state of Michigan.
Sure.
They're all going to district libraries, informing them, some with schools, some with townships. Not saying that that's a fad that we have to do, but it seems to be the direction that they're leaning.
And there's a reason for that.
I'm sure.
I mean, it's not just.
It's not a win, yeah.
No, it's not a point.
And that's why the library board brought it to us.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a fly-by-night thing, it's something that has been proven and it works. It does take some knowledge and some, a grant writer and a millage person that understands how to put the words together, things on that order that they have to look at. Now, they feel that that there's a lot. My biggest worry is, like I said, if Curtis can't get on the same page between the library and the township, then it's almost a done deal, because there's no reason why what we presently have to go to a district. Because Denise is handling everything just fine with what she has. It's presently, they have a contract, Davey Curtis with Alcona, and she's running both of them. And that they really appreciate her over there, and it's gotten better library. That's sort of how it started. But if they can't get their agreement, that's why one of the notes here is that's why we're doing this, is we're supposed to go back to a particular basis and say, are you really ready to make a step? And if not, then think about what your questions are, and before we go a whole lot more into this. So that's all I'm attempting to do. That's it.
Thanks. All right, that's all we put on the agenda, so that's, we're done.
How would you talk about it?
Thank you.
Gregory, we kind of, so.